Sophia folded the last of Oliver's shirts and placed it neatly into the open suitcase on their bed. Her swollen belly pressed against the edge as she leaned forward, her movements slow and careful. The room smelled faintly of lavender from the oil diffuser she always kept by the nightstand, and the soft hum of the ceiling fan provided a soothing backdrop to her thoughts. She adjusted the collar of his navy blue blazer, smoothing it with a tender hand. This trip, he had told her, was an important one, an opportunity to close a lucrative deal with foreign investors. It meant more security for their growing family. She glanced over at Oliver, who stood by the mirror adjusting his tie. He looked sharp as always, clean-cut, confident, and composed. "Don't forget the folder with your presentations. It's in the study," she reminded gently, patting the suitcase closed. He turned and smiled, the same smile that once made her heart flutter. "I've got it," he said, walking over and brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. He placed a hand over her belly, feeling a soft kick in return. "He's getting stronger," he whispered. Sophia laughed softly. "She is. And she already misses you." Oliver chuckled, but his eyes flickered. Just for a second. A shadow passed through them, gone before she could notice. "I'll be back before you know it," he promised, kissing her on the forehead. "And I'll call you every night. I want to hear everything, the baby kicks, the cravings, all of it." She nodded, wrapping her arms around him the best she could, her belly between them like a living promise. "Be safe," she said, her voice low, as though the weight of love could keep him anchored. Outside, the cab honked. He grabbed his luggage and gave her one last smile at the door. "Take care of our little one," he said. "I always do," she replied, waving from the porch. As the car drove away, she stood there for a moment longer than necessary, one hand on her belly, the other on her heart. She had no idea that the man she loved wasn't going to a boardroom, but into the arms of another woman. A few days into Oliver's trip, Sophia sat curled up on the couch, her feet elevated on a pillow as she flipped through a parenting magazine. The baby kicked gently now and then, reminding her that time was running short before her life changed forever. The doorbell rang, interrupting her quiet moment, and she carefully pushed herself up to answer it. It was Rachel, her best friend since college, holding a bag of takeout and flashing a knowing grin. "I figured you could use some girl time," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an answer. As they unpacked noodles and spring rolls onto the kitchen table, Rachel's tone shifted. "Hey, can I ask something?" she began hesitantly. "Oliver's been traveling a lot lately, hasn't he?" Sophia looked up, caught off guard. "Yeah. His job's been crazy. New expansion plans or something," she replied with a shrug. Rachel stirred her noodles but didn't drop the topic. It seems like every few weeks he's gone again. And for longer stretches. Has he been acting off?" Sophia forced a smile. "No, I don't think so. He calls every night. Just tired, maybe." Rachel didn't push further, but her eyes said more than her words. After she left, the seed of doubt had been planted. Later that night, Sophia was looking for Oliver's insurance papers in the drawer of his home office when something fluttered to the floor. It was a receipt, from a 5-star beachside resort in another city. The logo was printed in bold at the top, and the date matched his current trip. But this wasn't the hotel he told her about. Her chest tightened. Why would he lie about where he was staying? She stared at the receipt for a long time, her heart thudding in her chest. Logic fought with love. Maybe it was a last-minute change. Maybe the company booked it. Maybe. She called him that night, and for the first time, he didn't answer. When he finally called back hours later, his voice was rushed, distracted. "Sorry, babe. Meeting ran long. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" "No, I love you." No asking about the baby. Just silence. Sophia hung up and sat in the dark, cradling her belly. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The coastal breeze swept through the marble entrance of the Grand Pearl Resort as Oliver stepped out of the black SUV, sunglasses shielding his eyes from the late afternoon sun. He looked every bit the sophisticated businessman, sharp suit, designer shoes, confidence radiating from his posture. But he wasn't here for any deal. His so-called business trip was nothing more than a carefully crafted lie to spend a week in paradise with someone who wasn't his wife. A slender figure emerged from the resort lobby to greet him. Camila. Young, fashionable, effortlessly beautiful with glossy brunette curls and oversized sunglasses pushed up into her hair. She wore a silk dress that clung to her curves, and the way she walked screamed confidence. She rushed into his arms with a soft laugh, and he pulled her close without hesitation. "Took you long enough," she whispered against his neck, the scent of her perfume overpowering the salt in the air. "Couldn't get away sooner," Oliver replied, pressing a kiss to her cheek. "But now I'm all yours." They walked hand in hand to the check-in desk, using fake names, Mr. and Mrs. Donovan. The receptionist raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The staff at high-end places like this knew when to ask questions and when to smile politely and look away. Their suite overlooked the ocean, complete with a private balcony and a jacuzzi. Camila twirled once as she entered, letting her silk dress flutter, and Oliver followed her with hungry eyes. The bags were barely unpacked before they were wrapped in each other, laughing like teenagers sneaking off behind the gym. Over the next 2 days, they behaved like a couple in love. Camila posted vague, scenic photos on her private account, cropped cocktails, beach sunsets, and her hand resting on a restaurant table, with Oliver's just out of frame. At dinner, they shared wine and whispered inside jokes, oblivious to anyone watching. Oliver told her stories about the stress at home, how Sophia had become too focused on the baby, how he felt suffocated. Camila played the understanding lover perfectly. She leaned in, stroked his hand, and told him he deserved to be happy. In that moment, with wine on his tongue and Camila's laugh in his ear, Oliver forgot his pregnant wife. Forgot the promises. Forgot the life he was so easily betraying. Rachel showed up the next morning, a determined look on her face and her phone in hand. She didn't waste time with small talk. "I did some digging," she said, stepping into the living room. Sophia blinked, still in her robe, clutching a half-drunk cup of tea. Rachel sat beside her, opened her phone, and pulled up a screenshot of the hotel logo. "That receipt you found, it's not some generic business hotel. It's a 5-star romantic resort. Oceanfront views, candlelit dinners, honeymoon packages." Sophia's breath caught. "You're sure?" "I ran a reverse image search on the logo. It's called the Grand Pearl. Couples go there to reconnect. Not for board meetings." Sophia felt the air thicken. The walls of her home, once filled with warmth and trust, suddenly seemed unfamiliar. She rubbed her belly instinctively, trying to calm the tiny flutter of movement within. Rachel continued, softer now. "Soph, I know you didn't want to believe it. But something is off. He lied about where he's staying. And he's not acting like himself. You can't ignore it anymore." For a long moment, Sophia didn't speak. Her mind raced, but her face remained composed. Her heart ached, but not in a way that made her collapse. Instead, it stirred something steadier, resolve. "You're right," she said finally, her voice cool and steady. "I need to see it for myself." Rachel's brows lifted. "Wait, are you serious?" Sophia nodded, already pulling out her phone. "If he's there with someone, I want to look him in the eye when he sees me. He won't lie his way out of this." Within an hour, she had booked a flight and a hotel room near the resort. She packed slowly, carefully, with the calm precision of a woman who had made up her mind. The plane ride felt longer than it actually was. Sophia sat stiffly in her window seat, a hand pressed against her belly as the baby shifted uncomfortably. The seatbelt dug into her hips, and the dry cabin air made her feel even more drained. A sharp cramp rippled through her lower abdomen, not real labor, just Braxton Hicks, the nurse had told her weeks ago, but it still made her grip the armrest until her knuckles turned white. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to stay calm. But her mind wouldn't quiet. It played memories like a cruel montage. The first time Oliver held her hand in college. The way he kissed her forehead on their wedding day. The way he cried when they found out they were pregnant. Was it all fake? Or had it slowly faded, replaced by whatever thrill he now sought in another woman's arms? She turned her wedding ring around and around on her finger as the pilot announced they were beginning their descent. At the airport, she refused help from porters and taxicab drivers offering to carry her bags. Her suitcase wasn't heavy, but her heart was. The humid air hit her the second she stepped outside, clinging to her skin. The cab ride to the coast was rough, winding through palm-lined roads, every bump sending jolts up her spine. Still, she didn't falter. Her thoughts stayed locked on Oliver's face, the one he made when he lied, the shift in his voice, the way he looked at his phone more than her. Her anger kept her steady. It gave her strength. By the time the cab pulled up near the Grand Pearl Resort's entrance, Sophia sat upright, eyes sharp, spine straight. She was ready. She had come this far for the truth, and she wouldn't leave without it. Sophia stood at the edge of the Grand Pearl Resort, her hands cradling her belly as she took in the opulence. String lights twinkled above manicured hedges. The air smelled like blooming jasmine and sea salt. Guests in sleek evening wear moved about with cocktails in hand, laughter rising and falling like waves. But Sophia wasn't here to enjoy the scenery, she was here for the truth. At the front desk, she smiled politely at the receptionist, her voice calm but firm. "I'm looking for a Mr. Donovan. He checked in recently." The young woman's smile faltered. I'm not sure we can disclose." Sophia leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "I'm his wife. He's here with someone who isn't me." She didn't need to say more. The weight in her eyes said it all. The receptionist hesitated, then looked down at her screen. After a few clicks, she glanced up. "They're having dinner at La Mer, the restaurant by the cliffside." "Thank you," Sophia whispered. She made her way through winding stone paths, her sandals crunching softly against gravel. Her flowing ivory dress clung gently to her figure, her hair pulled back in a loose twist. She moved slowly but deliberately, every step resonating with purpose. La Mer glowed in the distance, an open-air terrace lined with candlelit tables overlooking the crashing waves below. Waiters in white served champagne and oysters. And there, near the edge, sat Oliver, laughing, leaning across the table, his hand covering Camilla's. Sophia stopped just beyond the hostess stand. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. Her chest rose and fell. She took a breath, placed a steady hand on her belly, and walked forward. Guests turned to look. Murmurs began. The sight of a radiant, heavily pregnant woman walking alone into a romantic restaurant wasn't something easily ignored. Oliver noticed her halfway across the room. His smile faded. His face went ghost pale. He stood abruptly, knocking over his wine glass. "Sophia!" Camilla blinked, confused, then horrified. "Wait, who is she?" Sophia didn't stop. She walked right up to the table and rested both hands on its edge. "Hi, Oliver. I hope I'm not interrupting your business dinner." Camilla pushed back in her chair. You're his wife." Sophia looked straight at her. "And 8 months pregnant, yes." The restaurant had gone silent. Even the waiters froze. Oliver opened his mouth but no words came. He looked around helplessly, as if someone might rescue him. No one did. Sophia turned her gaze to him, her voice calm and icy. "You lied to me. You lied to our child." Camilla grabbed her clutch and stormed away, her heels clacking furiously on the stone. Sophia didn't flinch. She stood tall, belly proud, heart aching but strong. The moment wasn't just a confrontation. It was a reckoning. Oliver had wanted to disappear into a fantasy. Instead, he had been dragged back into reality, one that stared him down with dignity and fire in her eyes. Oliver's mouth opened and closed like he was underwater, gasping for words that wouldn't come. He reached out, as if to steady the moment, but Sophia didn't move. Her presence was steel and grace wrapped in silence, and it unsettled him more than if she had screamed. "Sophia, I didn't mean for this to He finally blurted, his voice trembling. You weren't supposed to see this. Things got complicated, and I... Complicated? She repeated softly, eyes never leaving his. You lied, Oliver. Not just to me, but to her too. You let her believe I didn't exist. And you let me believe we still did. Camilla stood beside the table, her face a twisted mix of shock and anger. You said you were divorced, she hissed. You said it was over. Sophia looked at her, but not with rage. Only sadness. He has a habit of saying what's convenient. You're just hearing the truth a little later than I did. Camilla's jaw clenched. She grabbed her purse, shot Oliver a look of disgust, and turned sharply on her heel. She disappeared into the crowd without another word, her departure leaving a hollow space behind. The surrounding diners didn't return to their meals. They remained quiet, watching the scene unfold like a slow-burning tragedy. No one dared interrupt. Sophia stood still, then slowly placed her hand on her belly. The baby kicked lightly beneath her palm, as if sensing her mother's quiet defiance. Her voice, when it came, was soft but strong. We deserved better, she said. The statement didn't demand attention. It commanded it. And in that moment, the silence broke, not with noise, but with energy. A few women nodded subtly. One older man shook his head at Oliver with a look of silent judgment. A young couple sitting nearby whispered something to each other and looked at Sophia with empathy. Oliver looked like a man crumbling from the inside out. But Sophia didn't flinch. Her pain wasn't masked, but neither was her strength. She had come to find the truth, and now that it stood before her, she carried it like armor. By the next morning, the entire resort was buzzing. Someone had recorded the confrontation on their phone, from the moment Sophia walked into the restaurant to Camilla's stormy exit and Sophia's quiet declaration, "We deserved better." Within hours, the video was all over social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It spread like wildfire. Captions ranged from "wife goals" to "the calm before the storm." One post labeled it, "Pregnant wife confronts cheating husband on business trip, leaves everyone speechless." It had over 3 million views by the end of the day. Back in his luxury suite, Oliver stared at his phone in disbelief. Missed calls. Dozens of emails. Several clients had already reached out, politely suspending their agreements until further notice. One investor bluntly asked, "Is this the kind of integrity we're supposed to trust with our money?" His professional life was unraveling in tandem with his personal one. Camilla hadn't returned his calls or texts. Sophia's silence rang louder than any argument ever could. Meanwhile, Sophia's inbox overflowed with messages, not just from friends and family, but from strangers around the world. Women shared their own stories of betrayal. Journalists requested interviews. Advocacy groups for single mothers and betrayed spouses reached out, offering support and even inviting her to speak at upcoming events. Sophia sat in her quiet home, phone in hand, heart still tender but no longer fragile. She read every message with care. Some brought tears. Some gave her strength. One woman wrote, "Thank you for not breaking down. You gave me the courage to leave my own liar." The world saw her now, not as a victim, but as a symbol of quiet strength and maternal dignity. Oliver had hoped to escape into a lie, but instead he became the cautionary tale. Sophia, on the other hand, was becoming something else entirely. An icon of truth, of poise under pressure, and of the undeniable power of a woman who chooses her self-worth over her silence. The taxi dropped Sophia off in front of her house just after sunset. The porch light flickered on automatically, casting a golden glow on the familiar steps. She stood there for a moment, suitcase in hand, belly heavy, heart bruised, but not broken. Everything looked the same, yet everything had changed. Inside, the silence welcomed her. No Oliver. No excuses. Just the steady hum of the refrigerator and the quiet ticking of the hallway clock. She placed her suitcase by the door, ran a hand over her belly, and whispered, "We're home, baby." The next morning, Rachel arrived with groceries, flowers, and a fierce determination. "We're nesting," she said, not asking, just deciding. Together, they rearranged the nursery, moving the crib closer to the window, sorting tiny clothes, and pinning up soft stars above the changing table. In between, Sophia made the call to her lawyer. There were no tears this time. Just signatures. She filed for divorce, asking for full custody and a clean break. That night, she sat with her laptop at the kitchen table and opened a blank blog post. She titled it, "Strong, Still Standing, My Journey as a Pregnant Woman Betrayed." She wrote about the moment she found the receipt. The feeling in her gut. The confrontation. The quiet resolve that grew inside her like a second heartbeat. She hit publish. By the next morning, the post had been shared over 10,000 times. Offers started trickling in. Podcast interviews, articles, panels. A women's health brand offered her a sponsorship. A nonprofit working with single mothers asked if she'd speak at their next event. Sophia didn't seek fame. But if her story helped one woman walk away from pain, then it was worth it. With Rachel by her side, her baby growing strong, and a future she was finally designing on her own terms, Sophia stepped into her new beginning. Not with fear, but with faith in everything she had yet to become. The hospital room was bathed in soft morning light, the gentle beeping of monitors and the quiet hum of nurses outside creating a cocoon of calm. Sophia lay back against the pillows, her hair damp with sweat, her body trembling with exhaustion, but her arms held something far more powerful than pain. Her son. Tiny, warm, swaddled tightly and nestled against her chest, his cries had quieted the moment he heard her voice. His little fingers curled instinctively around hers, and in that instant, every hardship melted into meaning. She looked down at him with tears in her eyes. "Leo," she whispered. "Your name means courage. And that's what you've given me." Rachel stood by the window, her own eyes misty, snapping a photo of the moment. Mother and child, bathed in light, beginning a new chapter hand in hand. In the weeks that followed, Sophia adjusted to motherhood one sleepless night at a time. Feedings, lullabies, gentle rockings in the moonlight. Every moment with Leo stitched her broken pieces together. He didn't just heal her, he transformed her. And the world hadn't forgotten her either. Her blog had grown into a full platform. She was invited to speak on panels, attend women's conferences, and share her story with audiences who saw themselves in her strength. Her inbox overflowed with messages from single mothers, survivors of betrayal, and women starting over. Exactly 1 year later, Sophia stood on stage at a crowded women's summit. Dressed in white, her posture poised, she held the microphone with ease. Behind her, a giant screen displayed photos from her journey, Leo as a newborn, her viral moment at the resort, a quote that read, "Strength isn't loud. Sometimes, it just walks in and takes its seat." Her voice rang out clearly. "When I found out the truth, I thought my world was ending. But really, it was beginning. My son saved me. My pain pushed me. And I realized I didn't need someone who could lie with a smile. I needed to become someone I could live with in truth." The audience rose in applause, some in tears. Backstage later, her assistant handed her a thick envelope. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. Oliver's name was signed at the bottom. Apologies. Regret. Memories. A wish to see Leo, just once. Sophia didn't read it twice. She folded it neatly and tore it down the center, then again into quarters. She tossed the pieces in the trash, turned, and found Leo waddling toward her with outstretched arms. She scooped him up, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Let's go, baby. Our story's just getting started."